The sky over Lagos didn't scream when the Oya-7 arrived. It sighed. It was a heavy, organic sound, like a giant lung finally collapsing under its own weight. We had spent decades looking for metal ships and laser beams, but the Oya-7 were biological. They were massive, drifting spores the size of city blocks, settling into our clouds like dust on an old bookshelf. They want our nervous systems to become part of their global mycelium. A world without hunger or war, but it's a world without a soul. Every morning I wake up to the smell of ozone and wet earth, wondering if today is the day my own DNA starts to rewrite itself. I spend my nights in the bioluminescent gardens with Elias. He was the first of the high architects to be changed. He's beautiful in a terrifying alien way. Elias thinks I'm a loyalist. He thinks I've accepted the low-frequency vibration that the Oya-7 used to communicate. But beneath my tongue I carry a small, lead-lined pill. It's a frequency jammer designed by the Yoruba Underground. It keeps my thoughts private. It keeps me human. They want our nervous systems to become part of their global mycelium. You're holding your breath again, he told me tonight. We were standing on the balcony of the Spore Tower, looking out over a city that used to be home. Now it looks like a glowing reef at the bottom of a dark ocean. I'm just tired, Elias, I lied. The tired will end soon. The synthesis is almost complete. You won't have to be a separate person anymore. We will finally be one. The hum isn't just a sound, it's a physical weight. It vibrates in your teeth and settles in your marrow. To the integrated, it is a lullaby. To me, it is the sound of a funeral march played at a frequency only the dying can hear. I spent the afternoon walking through the markets of New Lagos. What used to be a chaos of shouting vendors, the smell of suya, and the rhythm of Afrobeats is now orderly. Too orderly. Too orderly. I spent the chaos of shouting vendors. This spent the afternoon walking through the market of New Lagos. Soul. Every morning I wake up to the smell of ozone and wet earth, wondering if today is the day my own DNA starts to rewrite itself. I spend my nights in the bioluminescent gardens with Elias. He was the first of the high architects to be changed. He's beautiful in a terrifying alien way. His afro is no longer just hair. It's a crown of fine, glowing filaments that... His afro is no longer just hair. It's a crown of fine, glowing filaments that pulse when he speaks. I love him, or at least, I remember loving the man he used to be. Now, every time he touches my hand, I feel the microfilaments in his skin trying to map my heartbeat, trying to find a way in. She handed me a small, copper-bound device. It looked like an ancient drum beater, but it was packed with high-density capacitors. This is the speaker. If you can get this to the central node in the Spore Tower, we can override the synthesis frequency. Elias is the guardian of that node. I met my contact, a woman named Sod, in the back of a shuttered electronics shop. She is one of the last unsensed engineers. She looked at me with eyes reddened by exhaustion. The Oya-7 are accelerating the timeline, she whispered, her voice barely audible over the hum. They aren't just integrating our minds anymore. They're starting to harvest the ancient memories, the things we don't even remember we know. They want the roots of our culture so they can mimic us better. People move in synchronized patterns. They don't bargain anymore. They just touch palms with the vendors, a bioelectric exchange of data and currency. I saw a child, no older than 7, staring at a translucent flower growing out of a concrete crack. Her eyes were wide, and I could see the fungal filaments tracing patterns under her skin like blue lace. She didn't laugh. She didn't cry. She just processed. Soon, Oya-7, you won't need to go looking for meaning in the ruins. You will feel the meaning of the entire planet. Every bird's flight, every leaf's fall, it will be yours. You'll have to go through him. And once the speaker starts, there's no turning it off. It will burn out the neural links of anyone connected to the hive. It will be a liberation for us, but for the integration, it might be a lobotomy. You've been to the old quarter, he said. It wasn't a question. You didn't have to follow me. He could feel the displacement I caused in the mycelium. I missed the sound of the wind, I said, leaning against the balcony. The speaker was hidden in the folds of my wrap, pulsing rhythmically against my hip. The hum isn't just a sound, it's a physical weight. It vibrates in your teeth and settles in your marrow. To the integrated, it is a lullaby. To me, it is the sound of a funeral march played at a frequency only the dying can hear. I spent the afternoon walking through the markets of New Lagos. What used to be a chaos of shouting vendors, the smell of suya, and the rhythm of Afrobeats is now ... orderly. Too orderly. Too orderly. I spent the chaos of shouting vendors. This meant the afternoon walking through the Marv Aphrodite's is now ... markets of New Lagos. Soon, Oya-7, you won't need to go looking for meaning in the ruins. You will feel the meaning of the entire planet. Every bird's flight, every leaf's fall, he pulled me into a kiss. It was the most painful betrayal of my life, because for a split second I wanted to believe him. His skin felt like silk, and the warmth radiating from him was intoxicating. For a moment, the hum sounded like music. My heart raced, and I knew he could feel it. He smiled against my lips, thinking my excitement was for the synthesis. Tomorrow at dawn, he whispered, the great flowering. We will walk into the spores together. I smiled back, tears stinging my eyes. Yes, I said, at dawn. I stayed awake all night, watching him sleep. The integrated don't dream, they just update. I watched his chest rise and fall, and I memorized the way his hand felt in mine. I was a spy in the bed of my enemy, and I was a lover. I bit down on the lead-lined pill in my mouth. It didn't just jam the frequency. It acted as a relay. Suddenly, the air didn't just hum, it cracked. The first beat of the Gangan Protocol hit like a physical blow. It wasn't just music. It was a biological weapon wrapped in a rhythm. The Oya-7 communicate through bioelectric pulses, smooth, predictable. Mathematical, but the Yoruba drums, they are polyrhythmic. They are chaotic. They are the sound of 1,000 years of resistance. The mycelium vines wrapped around the skyscrapers began to shrivel. The iridescent sheen on Elias's face turned into a map of cracks. The aliens had, we will call it a victory, but we know better. It was a reclamation. We took our stories back. Built their hive on a single truth, a single sun. But the drums brought the storm, greater than. It was the rhythm of Shango, the god of lightning. Every beat sent a surge of raw, unintegrated power through the alien network. The hum was shattered by the speak. The Oya-7 didn't know how to process a frequency. With a knife behind my back, the Yoruba people say that the truth is like the sun. You can't look at it for long, but it's the only thing that lets you see. That changed every second, a frequency that carried the weight of ancestors and the fire of the future. Elias fell to his knees, clutching his head. "Make it stop," he screamed. "It's too loud. There are too many voices." The retreat of the Oya-7 wasn't a retreat of ships. It was a retreat of spirits. They couldn't live in a world that sang. They withered under the heat of the drums, their spores turning into gray ash that coated the streets of Lagos like a winter they weren't prepared for. I found Elias in the ruins of the garden. He was human again, mostly. The glow was gone, replaced by the deep, tired lines of a man who had seen too much of the sun. He looked at me, and for the first time in years, he blinked. "Is it over?" he asked. "The invasion is," I said, helping him up. "But the integration, that's going to take a different kind of work." We looked out over the city. The glowing vines were dead, but in their place the real earth was pushing through the concrete. We had survived. We hadn't become them, and we hadn't stayed the same. We were something new. We were the bronze echo. We will call it a victory, but we know better. It was a reclamation. We took our stories back. "That's the point, Elias," I said, standing over him as the purple sky began to tear open, revealing the honest, harsh sun of the African morning. "We aren't one voice. We are millions, and we refuse to be silent." That night, the atmosphere was thick enough to taste. The copper haze had turned a deep, bruised magenta. Elias was waiting for me at the summit of the tower. He had shed his human clothing, his body now covered in that high-collared organic suit that seemed to grow directly from his spine. He looked like a god of the new world, or a very beautiful parasite. "The wind is just air moving without purpose," Elias said, stepping closer. He smelled like crushed violets and ozone. He reached out and touched my afro, his fingers lingering on the glowing spores that had begun to settle there. He didn't know they were fake, that I had spent an hour applying bioluminescent paste to blend in.